G'day guys, we're not going to muck around. This is going to be a bit of a video, but I'm going to show you how you can make this scene transition for free. Let's go. A big shout out first of all to Sam Woodhall. He did a video on how to do this in Apple Motion. So if you want to check that out, if you use Apple Motion or After Effects, check out his videos and I'll put a link down there. There's a couple of bits of software you're going to need. They are completely free. First one you'll need is Davinci Resolve, which is a video editing software. It's super powerful. Then we'll also use Touch Portal, which is a macro software. And then I'll also show you how to set it all up in OBS. Let's get into it. So guys, here we are in Davinci Resolve. The first thing you want to do once you've started a new project is come into your settings down here in the cogwheel and set your resolutions and frame rates to match what you're using in OBS. So make sure you set that and then you'd hit save. Next thing you want to do, come over to the edit tab. So normally with Davinci Resolve, you kind of work from left to right with all your clips making a full video. We don't need to do all that. We're just going to start here in edit. We're going to come up to the media pool here, hit right click and hit new fusion composition. Get a little pop-up here. Now what we want to do is set this for, we'll set it for 10 seconds. We're not going to need a 10-second transition, but we want at least that for now, and we can trim it down later. You can't extend it back out. So we'll set that at 10 seconds and hit create. That'll put the fusion composition up here in your media pool. Grab that, drag it down onto the timeline, and that's about all we have to do in the edit tab. Let's move on to the Fusion tab down here. So here we are in Fusion. Fusion is like the After Effects of Davinci, but it's free. It is the motion graphics and special effects section of Davinci Resolve, and it's a little bit different. It's node-based rather than sort of layer-based. But if you follow along, it's not too bad. It's pretty easy to get your head around. So what we want to do is grab a background. And if we grab it just here and drop it down into the nodes, we have not much. But if we grab the output of that, click and drag across to the input of the media out, now we have a big black square. This is the black square we're going to modify and animate to come in, spin around and go back out and bring in our new scene. What we want to do next is grab a transform node. We bring it down just around the middle of that line and drop it there, it'll automatically throw it in. So now we've got a transform node. This is the one that we can use to animate. Firstly, we want to get our shape of what we're going to have come sliding in. So I'm going to turn off the use size and aspect modify there, and we're just going to bring this in like this, around about there, and we're going to increase the Y size because we want it outside, so when we flip it, it fills up the entire frame. Nice and easy. Now we're going to get this angle and leave it. We're going to tip it over negative 13 degrees. That looks pretty good to me. Cool. All right. Next step is we want to add something a bit more to than just a black line. So what we do, we come up here to the effects library at the top. We click on this and we have a bunch of effects, free effects that they've built in and that you can have on the free software. There are some that you can't use, but most of them you can. We're going to come to the templates here and have a look through. There's some motion graphics. There's a lot of different ones. You can have a look through these. You can use whichever one you like. I'm going to go with the matrix effect. We're going to come and drag this down right here. And what we want to do is mix that in on top of the black background. So if we grab a merge node and drop it here, same as we did with the transform node, drop it here, and then do the same. So on a merge node, you have a green triangle, which is your foreground input, see the arrow pointing in, and then a yellow, which is your background. So we've got that on the right spot. Sometimes you will have to switch them around. We'll grab this and put it in the foreground. Great. We will increase the size. and drag this over in here. So we can see that's looking pretty good there. That's not too bad. So now we've got that in there, but we've got it over. The checkered area is going to be the transparent spots on our transition. So we only want that in the black though. So if we come to our merge node here, pretty simple. With the operator, change that to a top. And then as you can see, it is only here. Obviously, if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below and I'll try to answer as many as I can. All right, so now we've got that set up. We need to personalize this a bit to our stream for me. So I've got my logo, my mascot, the little juice box. So we're gonna add him in. We come back to our media pool up the top here, we right click, and then we import media. Go find, it'll open up a Windows Explorer, go find your logo or whatever you want to have. It's got to be on a PNG with a transparent background. As you can see here, I've just rearranged the nodes a little bit. You can just click and drag them to wherever you want so you can keep track of everything. Logo, we're going to drag that in, drop it down, and it's going to be a node, a media in node. And we're going to want to merge that in with our matrix. So we're going to grab another merge node and put it on the matrix, which is going to be put in the background, which is what we want. And we're going to put the media in the foreground. Obviously, it's quite huge, so we'll just try and keep our nodes. We'll move them around as we go. Let's grab a transform node here and put that in on there. Lovely. Keep it nice and close. And we're going to want to, on this transform node, reduce the size. There we go. Somewhere, something like that. So as we move, if we click on this transform for our black line, and as we move it around, nice. All right. Okay. So our next step is to start animating. So we're going to start at 0 here, and we're going to keyframe the center of this black here. So if we hit keyframe, and then we move this center outside here somewhere, we got to leave enough, and sometimes getting these numbers nice and even, so when you bring it back out it goes to the same point, helps. So now we go to 60 frames, which will be 1 second in, 60 FPS, 60 frames per second. We want to go into about 1 second. So we go here and we hit the diamond again to add a keyframe, and then we'll just drag this down to 0.5, boom, in the middle, nice and easy. So if we scroll back here and hit play, as you can see, that's come in nice. All right, so now we've got it here. We want to rotate it 180 degrees. So what we're going to do is add a keyframe on the angle, boom, and then we'll go to 120, another second in, we're going to flip that 180 degrees. Now, you can go like this, so 180, you know, maths, 167. That's where we want it. Done. Easy. So if we go back now, you can see that trying to process there. We hit play. It's going to spin. Excellent. So we're just doing a rough animation here. And then we want to keyframe our center here as well, so it will stay in that same position. If we change that down here at the end, it's going to do it from there to there. So we need to keyframe that position as well. So now we're at 180 frames, so 3 seconds. We're going to keyframe this center and put it at 1.2 again, which is going to chuck it off the side. Let's give that a bit of a run and have a look. Then we got our nice little matrix background, spins around, and then goes back out. Lovely. So now what we want to do is animate the avatar or the logo. So we want him just moving from sort of back to front, kind of in, and he'll come into focus. So we'll play with that a little bit here. First, we'll animate him moving left to right. So if we start at 0, And let's just have a look. Let's move him off center a little bit. Not much. Start there. And then we'll come in to the halfway point, which is about there. We're going to actually, what we'll do, go straight to the end and keyframe that as well. And we want him to go in the other direction. Doesn't have to be much. Let's just see how that looks. Nice. That looks all right. So we've got just one basic motion there. And we'll also change his size from start to finish. So if we keyframe the size here, we'll bring him down just a little bit. If we grab here, at that, come to the end, keyframe that as well, bring him back up. So it's hard to see because you can't see him, but that doesn't look too bad just there. So we'll hit play. So he kind of looks like he's coming forward there and across, getting a little bit closer to us. Maybe we'll emphasize that size a little bit more. So if we come to our first one and shrink him down a little bit more. There we go. We've got all of our animation, basic animation done. We want to smooth it all out. So we want it to not sort of come in, stop, boom, turn all one speed, stop, go out. We want to smooth all that. So what we can do is come up here and hit spline. That's going to bring all our splines up over here. Now the main spline we want to play with is this transform one. So if we click on here, we'll get rid of this one for now. And that one, we don't want the blur or any of that. Just want transform one. And this is the one we want to, so we've got our couple here. We've got the movement or displacement or center, and then we've got the angle, which is the rotation. If we zoom out a little, and we select all these keyframes and press F, that's going to smooth it out for us. Look at that. Now we can play with these afterwards. So if we hit play, comes in, slows down, boom, and then we get a bit of acceleration there, decelerates at the end, and then out it goes. All right, what we want to do is let's drag it back into the middle. We want our green section. So what we'll do, actually, we'll go about here. We're going to copy this. We're going to actually copy both of these. Copy, and then paste. Now we can still see them. We're going to make this background green. So if you click on the background, you can select what it is. We're going to make it green. So we're just going to go boom, straight green. And this transform will keep it so all that animation will match. And then we add another merge node. Where are you? There you are. Done. Now we want all of this in the foreground because this is going to be right at the back. Come across, add that in. There we go. Now we can see what we're doing. We'll just decrease that just a little. Just want it a little bit there. Let's hit play, and that will match up. Coming through, and then back out. Everything matches. Nice. So the final thing we need to add is another background. Now this background is going to be used to chroma key or delete out and reveal the background, the second scene in behind as it swipes in, rotates around and comes out to then finish off with the second scene. So we've dragged a background in. What you want to do is pick a color here that you don't have in your overlays and most of your setup. I have a lot of greens and blues and things like that, which are sort of the common colors for chroma keying. I'm going to use red, which isn't an issue because you can pick any color in OBS for chroma keying. What you need to do is add another merge node at the back here. We want all of the work we've done so far to be at the front, and then this background is going to be in behind. So there we have a nice red background. We're going to drag in another transform node onto this one and bring it down here so we can see it clearly. What we need to do here is turn off the size and aspect. We want to move the pivot all the way. We'll move the center across first to around the center here and move the pivot out so it's on the very edge of our background. We rotate the angle. You can see that that pivot point is where it will rotate, and we want that at 13 degrees like the others. And we're going to crank up the Y size so it blows out the edges of the frame. So what we're going to do is we want that there at this point at the 60th frame. So we're going to keyframe the center and the angle like we did with the others. We're going to drag this all the way back, and we're going to keyframe the center here and drag it out as well so it's all out of frame. Done. So if we hit play here, no, we're going to drag it out a bit further. At 1.8, let's see what that does. So as long as it stays in behind, lovely. Now we're going to have to add the rotation in from here. So we're going to keyframe, we've keyframed the angle, go to our next one at the end here and flip that over around this way to 167 as well. There we go, lovely. Keyframe our center again. So as we did before, then come to our last frame, keyframe our center and drag it all the way out. Now, if you notice like I have, you've got that in the background. You can increase your X size. Let's have a look how that plays out. As long as that red stays in behind, we don't see it. See how it popped up there? So what we'll do is just add some splines to that. So if we grab the splines, and all we want to see is this transform 3, this one here. We'll turn off the others that are visible. Done. Let's select them all and hit F. And that should keep it all in the background. If we go frame by frame, swipe out. The splines. So go back to our 0 frame and let's play that through. Comes in, spins around and back out. The last thing we want to do is, before we deliver it, is go to our edit tab and shorten this down so that it is only 3 seconds long. If you see the one at the bottom there, stop it on 3. If we go a little bit after, that's fine. Come to the end as long as everything is red. Beautiful. Now all we need to do is deliver that. So if we come across down the bottom here, hit deliver, we come up. Now exporting in alpha is a little bit tricky. So what you want to do is come to your format. This is the one way I've found that works every time. Change the format to QuickTime, the codec to GoPro Cineform, change the type to RGB. Now what you need to do is make sure you select individual clips. We only have one clip, so that works fine for us. Once you hit individual clips, you can click here to export alpha. And that's all you need to do. Give the file a name. Let's call it transition, and select a folder for it to go in. Location, find a folder that you want to save it in, select, and then add to your render queue and start render. It'll start rendering, won't take too long, and I'll come back afterwards. All right, so now what we need to do is convert that file. That file won't be able to be played on most computers without special software. It's a different codec, and it also doesn't work all that well in OBS. It's pretty heavy processing power to run it, so it may cause you to drop frames. What I do is use WEBM format, which is very common for use in OBS. And I use a program called Xmedia Recode, which we have here open now. We're just going to do a quick conversion. So if we hit open file and select the file we just rendered out of Davinci Resolve, hit open. Now, if this is not already set up your output format, your profile to custom, your format to WebM, your file extension to WebM. Come to video, make sure the codec is set to VP9. That's all we need to do. We add it to our queue and we encode. We let it do its thing and then we'll come back. Okay, so here we are in OBS. This is the next lot of settings that we need to do. First thing we need to do, we've got two scenes here for my recording. We're just going to use them. We're going to add another scene. We're going to call this transition scene. Now, the thing with this transition is that it only transitions from one scene to the other. If you wanted to go back, you need to do the same thing again, create another scene. So we're going to call this transition 1 to 2. Okay. Now, what we want to add in here are both our scenes. So we have scene 1 and then scene 2. Hit OK. Done. Nice and easy. Scene 2 we want at the back. That's the one that's going to appear. Now in scene 1, we want to add a media source and create new. We want to go and select the transition that we just made, the WebM version. So as you can see here, it's visible with the thumbnail. Click OK. We want restart playback when source becomes active ticked. We don't want loop turned on at this current time. You hit OK. Restart comes through. We got the red and the screen is full. So what we want to do in this scene is add a chroma key. So if we come in, right click on the scene, add a filter, hit plus and chroma key, press OK, and we want to do custom. Now the color we want is red, so we'll select color. Now I know the hex code for it should be this. Hit OK, there we go. We've got red. As you can see, it's made me kind of disappear, so we want to bring that similarity right down. We'll bring all these down. The further down, the less chance it's going to pick up any other stuff. So if we go to our transition scene, what we can do, we'll hit close on this. We're going to make the media source loop for now. So if we go to properties, tick loop, it'll just keep going round and round. Obviously it shows nothing because there's nothing in the background there. But if we keep this filter, this chroma key open, and we jump in it to our transition. So as you can see here, we've got the transition running on a loop. What we want to do is just, if you can see on the edges, we've still got a little bit. So we just want to play with the settings to get rid of that red. Bit of color spill reduction, a bit of smoothness. See how far we can bring the similarity down. As you can see, some of the red starts to sneak back in there. Try and smooth it out a bit to get rid of that red. And we just check all our background to make sure nothing is disappearing. So we'll just go back here, turn this loop off, hit OK. Back to our transition scene. And now we'll go into Touch Portal and set that up. All right, so here we are in Touch Portal. What we need to do is add a new button. So we're going to click here. We're going to put some text on it, nice and simple for now. So we'll just say transition 1 to 2. So we know it's from scene 1 to scene 2. Now what we need to do is add some logic in. So first thing we want to do is come down and set the scene. From here, for OBS, set scene, set. What we want to do is for it to change to that transition scene. Once it changes to that transition scene, we want it to wait for the length of the time that the transition runs for. We will wait for 3 seconds because that is how long our transition is. And then we will switch over to our second scene. So set scene, scene 2. What we also need to do is activate the source, the video file. So from here, we will add that just in here. We're going to show in scene 1, the media source, which is that file we added over the top and then is chroma keyed out. And at the end, we want to do that again, but we want to hide it, which will make it disappear. And hit save. So now we have a button on Touch Portal that we can use to transition from scene 1 to scene 2. Let's see how it looks. Here we are back in OBS. Let's have a look let's put it all together, see how it looks. Because we're transitioning from scene 1 to scene 2, let's start it on the scene. We're going to press our button on our tablet that's running Touch Portal, press it, and there's our transition. Done, nice and easy. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this sort of content, I do cover a lot of things to do with graphic design, stream setup stuff, gear reviews and whatever. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you know when I upload a new video. Feel free to play with all those settings in Davinci, play with your own animations, give it all a go. I'd love to see what you come up with. If you have any that you've come up with, feel free to jump in my Discord. The link will be down in the description for that, and show us. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Of course, if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer as many as I can, and hopefully that helps you out.